What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Real Reds Talk. It's Manchester United versus West Ham at the London Stadium, and the teams are out early. I would say early team news, but they've literally just come out. But we've had it for, I want to say, the past 15, 20 minutes. Right, I'll go through it with you, lads, and then I'll get your reaction to him. So, Onana in net, of course. Mazraoui, De Ligt, Martinez, and Dalot as your backline, which is probably our best backline you can assemble at the moment. Casemiro, Bruno, and Christian Eriksen in the midfield. Obviously, Bruno Fernandes is back in the team. And then the front three, which is, again, probably our best front three. Garnacho, Højlund, and Marcus Rashford. Is that our best team, Civir, do you think?
Yeah, maybe. I'll put Ahmed in there somewhere. But yeah.
Over who?
Whoever's playing on the right. I'll put Ahmed.
Okay, interesting.
Is Rashford on the right or Garnacho on the right?
I don't know. I'm guessing it's Rashford. Garnacho's
They keep switching about.
Yeah, they keep kind of changing, don't they? So on the graphic,
Yeah,
I've got Garnacho on the right, but you know, I never know, do you?
Yeah, I would always select Ahmed on the right hand side, just based off what he's given us this season so far. He's played really well. So yeah, I think that, and then there's still a debate between Højlund and Xerxes, but it could be either. You know,
I think Højlund's, for me at least, is clear at the moment. I thought Xerxes, when he came against Fenerbahce the other day, did not rate his performance. I'm not saying he's going to be a good player. I'm not like being overreactionary.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
But I thought he had a bit of a tough patch. But is that convinced you even more, Shreyas, that team?
Yeah, I think at the moment, I think this is pretty much the lineup we went up with in the preview as well. Because I think both of us expected Casemiro to get in, and both of us expected Bruno to be in there, and Eriksen is undroppable at the moment. So I think midfield, there are no surprises. Backline, there aren't really surprises either. In the attack, maybe I just thought maybe he chucks Ahmad on in this one to get that natural natural right winger on that side, but he's still gone with Garnacho, Højlund, and Rashford because I just think that he feels that this is his go-to front three when it comes to the most effective one. I think according to Ten Hag, this is the one to go first. And since he's under pressure, this is the front line that has got him a result against Brentford. So maybe he's trying to build some consistency in the attack.
If you were to do a case study, Civir, what do we definitely need to improve on for you personally from that Fenerbahce performance to today?
Off the ball. Off the ball, we're probably one of the worst teams I've seen so far.
Yeah, I agree.
I haven't seen most of the other Premier League games, so I can't really tell. But just from what I've seen and from the other games we've watched, I think we're just terrible off the ball. It just makes people easy to get through to us. When they have the ball, we're just easily manipulated. It's ridiculous almost. And then I think our pressing, we need to just decide, are we going to press or are we going to stay off? Because when we press, it's useless. They easily, and this is something that I've seen since last season, and how it's so easy for for other people to play out the back because they just know the way we set up. And once there's always one free defender. The ball goes to him to the corner, either it's left or right, and then they're literally in. It's one pass there, one pass to the middle, and it's done. So we either just need to decide if we're going to press as a team or just don't press at all.
Does physicality worry you as well, Shreyas? Because you look at West Ham's team, I know they haven't been great, and we'll speak about them specifically a little bit later. But you look at the midfield that they've got in Rodriguez, in players like Alvarez. I don't know who's starting for him, but you look at Souček, Antonio, these kind of guys, and you look at United's profile with Eriksen, Bruno, these kind of slight figures. Does that worry you at all when you look at set pieces, them on the transition, etc.?
I'm not as much worried about the physicality because I think in the past few games when I have mentioned that maybe Eriksen struggles in this game because they've got a lot of physical figures in that midfield line, I've just never really seen him struggle. He's still been able to hold off his own. So Eriksen, I'm still confident about. I think he can do a good job against a team like West Ham because on the ball he's still doing very, very decent. Probably one of our better midfielders up until now. Casemiro as well. I just don't know how he's going to deploy Casemiro in this game. Is he going to go with a similar style to Brentford, where he's actually got two pivots, not leaving an isolated six, or if he's actually trying to, having Casemiro and Bruno progress as 2-8s, it could be a different story altogether. So how he sets up and how he stacks up against, this West Ham team is going to be something that would be interesting because, like you mentioned as well, West Ham haven't really been doing that great. So they aren't really going to be, coming into this game and playing on the front foot. They would want United to actually, attack them. They would want us to actually get in their half because the moment we lose out on the ball, two or three of our players try to press. Bruno runs off, Hoyland runs off, and then there is a massive gap that is left behind. And if then you've got a player like Eriksen or Casemiro actually pressing forward, the gap that gets left behind, you can't really cover that. It's not possible.
It almost feels like we're doing that. And I cannot tell by not attitude, but like the theme of when we do these pre-match build-ups. So we're going to war with a paper spear, basically. Like we know what to expect. We're trying to gear ourselves up, but ultimately, this game against West Ham, even though they have been poor, it still worries you, doesn't it?
Yeah, certainly it does. Just a quick touch on the physicality question you asked. I think if you're really well organized, you don't really necessarily need to have a real physical presence in the midfield. Obviously, you would need that against set pieces and stuff. But if you look at the midfield we lost against Spurs, it was Kulusevski, Maddison, and Bentancur. That's not necessarily physical. It doesn't scream physical to you, but they were so organized that we didn't, we were literally played off the park with those three. And that was the midfield. And then if you had people I can't remember who they had in attack, but people that dropped, I can't remember who Spurs had in attack during that game. But
Son missed the game, didn't it? So it would have been.
Son missed it, yeah.
Brennan Johnson.
It was Werner,
Brennan Johnson,
and
Solanke.
Solanke.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think the point I'm making is that you don't necessarily need that once you have a really organized team and everyone knows what they're doing and knows their positions. We saw Casado, Fermin Lopez, and Pedri in the midfield three yesterday against Real Madrid. So sometimes you really need that, but obviously with us, you can't really tell. But back to the question, I think for me, it's always how low can we go? How low? How low is the bar at this point? How low can the expectation go? This is we passed the test with Barnsley and with Southampton.
Wow.
I'm just. Am I wrong? Just based on what we've seen so far.
We passed the test. That test being the easiest test on the planet.
Yeah, the easy. Yeah. Just okay, well, here you go, Barnsley. Okay, you could do it against them. You could do it against Southampton. With Brentford, none of us were confident, and obviously we managed to win that one. West Ham is you just don't know what you're going to get with Man United, and this is just the inconsistency that is this season. So West Ham are struggling at the moment, and even Palace aren't doing that well, but they still turned up against us. So it's I don't know how low we can go. On paper, we should be beating them. I like the team. I really like the team that we've set up today. With I particularly like the midfield of Casemiro, Bruno, and Eriksen. It's kind of like a ball-playing midfield, so I'm happy about that. And if we're going to sit back, that's who you want. Because you all three midfielders can find balls in for the attackers, so that's good. But yeah, you don't know where you're going to get today. It's West Ham. We should be winning this, although going away, it's always been one of those ones where it's always been tricky. It's always a hard win. We never win easily away at West Ham, so you just don't know. So, yeah.
Love that confidence. Is Ugarte unlucky not to start after Fenerbahce, Shreyas? Because you said he had a good performance, right?
Yeah, he had a good performance, but I didn't expect him to start this one because with the way Ten Hag has been working with him, I've just never really had that feeling with Ugarte that he is going to be starting for us in the Premier League. I don't think he's gotten a start in the Prem, a full 90 minutes up until now. And considering how much pressure the manager is under right now when it comes to the league form as well, I was pretty sure Ten Hag will go with the safest bet. And right now, since Eriksen is performing quite well, Bruno is pretty much going to be playing every game, I expected Casemiro to come into this one. Because at least when it comes to the build-up, with the way Casemiro can make those vertical passes, I think he's going with that sort of figure. Because when you look at our attack, you don't really see people interlinking a lot. You've got Hoyland who's going to be making runs. Garnacho can't find him. Rashford might maybe find someone, maybe not. It's not a given. So he would want players in the midfield to actually be able to make those balls for Hoyland. So Casemiro can do that. Eriksen can do that. Bruno can do that as well. So as many players as he can occupy with, with that those sort of profiles in midfield, he's going to go with it. But especially when you've got such a direct attack.
Mm. It's weird with Casemiro, isn't it, because I felt like at the start of the season, everything was his fault. All the attention's on him. He's the one making mistakes. He's the one basically in the media's eye, and it just seems to have gone very quiet on him. Not because he's not making mistakes or anything. He's just kind of getting about his business. I don't think he's necessarily been having bad performances. He's just kind of plodded along, hasn't he? Much like the rest of the midfield. Were people too harsh on him initially? Because I know you've said, if you put Rodri in this system, if you do that, whatever. But do you still think he's a top level player, Casemiro?
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%. I still think he's a really good player, really top level player. I think the reason why people are kind of a lot more quiet now is people are beginning to see that it's just bigger than Casemiro. It's more than him. If we take the Liverpool game in for as an example, the exact same thing that happened to Casemiro for the second goal was what happened to Kobe for the third goal.
Yeah,
It's pushed up. It's the exact same scenario. So it's more than just him. Obviously, yeah, when you're put in a position that exposes some of your weaknesses, then the spotlight is more on you. But then when people start to realize that it's more than just the individual players and it's more of the way we're being organized, then I think people start to realize that it's not just him. I still think it's a top player. And I still think some of our players. I still think we've got really good players. I just believe that if we either have a change of heart if the manager changes something, or if we get a new manager, I think we'll start to see how good our players really are. And with a player like Casemiro, you can't just overlook some of the experience that he has. And if you pair him up with someone like Eriksen, who's equally experienced, I think that's a world of experience you've got there. So yeah, and after a while, players, it depends on how you react to criticism. So like, fair play to Maguire. He was one of the most criticized players last season. I think when it came to like social media posts and stuff, he received a lot of abuse. So it depends on how you react to criticism. And I think Casemiro has kind of adapted, and I think sometimes we're kind of seeing that happen to Bruno now. I think Bruno just feels like he has too much responsibility on his hands, trying to do everything, and it starts to go wrong, and it's just like it's just downhill from there. But I think if you adapt, keep it simple, I think you can kind of find your feet around all the criticism. So I think that's kind of what's happening is adapting, and people are beginning to realize. But yeah, I still think he's a really top player, and I think the manager really sits down and digs deep, he can find a way to play all of them in a productive way.
I think you make a good point about the experience. Actually, I never thought of it like that. When I see like Bruno, Eriksen, and Casemiro, because they're all nearly 30. I mean, Casemiro has won a lot of stuff in the game. Eriksen, has played for a lot of big clubs in Inter Milan, Ajax, etc. Won
since he was young as well. He's been playing since he was 17.
Yeah.
That is actually a wealth of experience, and Bruno in there as well for whatever. I know he's got his deficiencies, but he's touching 30 now. He's gone far in tournaments for Portugal. Obviously, won trophies with us and won trophies with Sporting Lisbon. But does it play like that, Shreyas, when you see these three together? Does that convince you enough, that midfield?
Against West Ham, yes. At least against West Ham, I would say it can hold up.
Mm-hmm.
Throughout the course of a season, no. Because I think throughout the course of a season, you need a midfield that has got more legs, more engine. They've got more energy as well. But if you have to look at it from a perspective of just like through the course of the season, if this midfield starts in 10 games or 12 games, I would still say it is all right, because against certain oppositions, you need these sort of figures in midfield. You need players like Eriksen against a low block. You need players like Casemiro to bring in the experience. I would even say playing against the top teams as well, because they've been there and they've performed on the top stages against these teams and actually come up with results. Bruno as well, he's the captain of the team. So as a mainstay in that midfield, you would want him to be present in most of the games, be performing, be leading the team with by example. And I think right now this is the safest midfield that you could go for. Genuinely, the safest midfield you could go for because Ugarte is still settling in. Ugarte still hasn't got a decent run of games or consistent minutes in the Prem. So when you look at it from a different perspective, Casemiro has got a lot of minutes. Eriksen has been playing quite well. Bruno is a seasoned player in the Prem as well. So he's just gone with the safest bet. And even I think even Ten Hag knows that right now, if he makes an experiment in this midfield and it doesn't go his way, the pressure is just going to get more and more on him.
But I'm looking at this team now, and I'm like, Onana, Mazraoui, De Ligt, Martinez, Dalot, Casemiro, Bruno, Eriksson, Garnacho, Højlund, Rashford. I'm like, that's a good team.
It's a good.
Yeah.
That's a good team. You should be going to West Ham and putting it on him with that. You really should be doing the talent level. And to think that we can go in this, and not one of us in this stream right now, or probably anyone watching, is convinced and could think West Ham could get an early goal and the crowd could get on our back and it could just turn out to be one of those things. Or it could be a really stale 0-0 kind of game up until the very end and they score off a scruffy set piece or something. That's what worries me the most going into it. I'm not sat here thinking we can go and polish these like, 3 or 4-0. I'd be absolutely astonished if we did that. Yeah, I don't know. I can't remember the last time I've gone into a game where I've been like full of beans and confidence and like I can't wait. Do you know what I'm saying? It's just every game feels like a fucking grind at the minute.
I think if you give this team like the same set of players under a different manager, going to the same West Ham side who hasn't really been performing well with the kind of I think quality wise West Ham cannot match us. Like genuinely they cannot match us when it comes to the quality that we are putting out on the field. If you give this team to any other manager, they'll be doing a lot better with this team. I think they'll be able to get the best out of Casemiro as well. They'll be able to get the better out of Bruno Fernandes as well, and with the youngsters that you've got in this team as well. I think this team actually has a lot more output than what it is producing on the pitch as of now.
I'm
gonna. This is probably what frustrates. Sorry.
No, please go, Chivy. Go.
Now, just agreeing with Shreyas because I think this is what frustrates a lot of Man United fans because you see a team. Well, I don't want to say team. You see players like that because we're not really playing as a team.
Yeah,
but you see individual players like that, and you think, well, what's the problem? Like this on paper.
Yeah.
Bingo. If you're watching Real Reds, that's a bingo. That's a bingo phrase on paper.
We need to do that. We need to do it as a graphic and get a bingo sheet.
Yeah, on paper, like that is a really, really good squad. You've got the really, really good balance of youth up front, pace up front as well. You've got experienced midfielders who've been to wars and back and won things and, been to the deep end, know how to carry a team. You've got killers behind you. You've got De Ligt, you've got Lisandro, you've got two bombing wing backs, comfortable on the ball. What could go wrong? Seriously. But for some reason, I think just listening to that, I'm beginning to feel a little bit confident. And this is what happens to me every single time. Like you just start thinking, come on, there's no way. There's literally no way we can be doing this while we're destroying. And I'm beginning to feel confident about the game. Like this has to be one of those ones. Like, we have to do it.
Have to. I would agree with that.
Our rivals, Nottingham Forest, are in 5th now. Our rivals. Honestly, I'm looking at Forest now. Like those are our. We're fighting for that 12th spot, and then they're 5th now. So we need to keep up with Forest.
Thing is, if we win today, we go on 14 points. We go up to 7th, like level with Chelsea. I know Chelsea've still got to play Newcastle. Is it Chelsea play?
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Newcastle. Yeah.
So there's one of those two teams are going to drop points. We'll leapfrog Newcastle, Fulham, and Brentford, etc. Like I said, all it takes is a chain of wins to put together, and you can get right back in that conversation.
Yeah.
We just can't do it, especially away from home. We beat Southampton. That's it. 3-0. And even in that game, the first 35 minutes, you're like, oh my God, Southampton are outplaying us here. What on earth is happening? They missed a penalty, and then the pendulum completely swings the other way. Right, I'm gonna get into the comments, and then we're gonna discuss West Ham. So let me just switch screens, and then we can go through the comments. So UTF Farsin, I've been to a few West Ham away, and we never turn up. I'm sure we lost there 2-0 last season, didn't we? Around December time.
Yeah.
Ten Hag in survival mode has gone with players he trusts rather than what's best for the team. Connor's saying, big up Connor in the chat, saying Ugarte should be starting with Casemiro in midfield. Bruno should be on the bench, and either Eriksen or Xerxes or Ahmad should be in the camp. That's an interesting take. Garnacho, please don't be selfish today. Leach needs to get physical with Antonio or Delit. Handle that and go shut it down. I'm just, whilst the thing, I'm just going to put the West Ham team, actually. 1 second. I don't know where that's gone. In the new sticker, just so everyone can have a look at it to know who we're coming up against. Because Antonio does start, Bowen's in there, Paqueta's in there. So, oh my God, I've had a nightmare here. Just talk to me about Antonio, lads. Is that a worry for you? I know he's not the most prolific goal scorer, is he? But it's a worry, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, Shreyas, what do you think?
I mean, to be very honest with you, I don't know whether he'll be getting on the score sheet, but I do think he'll be causing a lot of trouble because up until now, whenever De Ligt and Lisandro Martinez have been coming up against these sort of physical strikers, they have struggled. It hasn't really been as comfortable for them. I expected them to be be on much of an advantage when they came up against physical strikers, but they've been struggling against physical strikers and doing quite well against the pacey ones who beat you for pace. They've been doing quite well against those sort of strikers, but I think Antonio can be someone who tries to break a play, who tries to impose his physicality, and then Paqueta or Bowen will be will be able to sneak through in that space in behind and actually going for the goal. So it might be a tough game, but I hope De Ligt had a better game against Brentford, and I thought he might struggle against the likes of Mbemo, or even when Vissa came on. Actually, De Ligt did quite well. So I hope that they can carry on with the same momentum into this game. But the more dangerous figure for me in that attack is Paqueta, because he's genuinely very, very tricky.
What?
I think those are the two that I'm most worried about. Well, not Kudus. I don't know if Kudus is starting.
Suspended.
But, it's suspended. Oh,
yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, yeah, but like that Kudus, Bowen, and Paqueta, like that's what worries me. Antonio.
Yeah.
I don't know that. I don't remember that much of his game IQ, so I'm not 100% sure if that's if he's got one, because I remember when we played Porto and Omarodian, Jesus
Just
Christ,
about to say that.
The first time,
Yeah.
I remember the first ball that went into Porto, and his acceleration, like he left Martinez for dead, and I was like, he didn't get the ball then, but the way he moved, and Martinez was literally like 2 steps behind him. I was like, that's worrying. So that's the kind of thing that kind of worries me with these kind of guys. Hopefully he has a bad day today. Hopefully if our midfield is set up properly, then we can kind of, stop all just block the passes from getting to that final third. Then we should be all right. But who knows?
Yeah, I was going to reference that Porto game because De Ligt and Martinez, that Sammy absolutely torn it up against them. And I think if he's in the mood, Antonio could cause similar problems. But again, he is one of those players. He's kind of thingy. But likewise with Jared Bowen. Jared Bowen last season was, he was really, really good. This season, you're not really seeing much of him. We had to discuss.
Wasn't he injured at some point or something?
He may have been.
He came off an injury.
Yeah.
West Ham this season, yeah. So he's had like a slow start.
He was like their go-to player last season. Like he was, everyone had him in the kind of fantasy I team. But I want to talk about one of the obvious players in Aaron Wan-Bissaka, who obviously moved there. There was some question marks around when he first moved. We probably expect him to have a killer performance today against Marcus Rashford on the left, or Garnacho, or whoever it is, because obviously he knows him very, very well. But now we've had a bit of time to reflect on that move, Shreyas. Do you agree with it now? Bringing in Mazraoui?
Yeah. I think, look, if Mazraoui has actually come in and did a very, very decent job, and you can see the big difference when it comes to both of their games, like Wan-Bissaka and Mazraoui as well. Wan-Bissaka is a terrific fullback, and I think West Ham is actually a very, very good move for him. He's been doing quite well for him as well, but Wan-Bissaka cannot help you out as much as Mazraoui does when it comes to build-up, when you have to talk about stepping into midfield and actually opening up a channel for Casemiro or Kobe to actually pass the ball around and then progress forward as well. I think Mazraoui does a brilliant job, and especially when it comes to the overlapping.
Is this voice? Your voice is gone, Shreyas. I don't know if you.
I got a call. 1 sec.
You good?
Yeah. So I just think as a attacking fullback, Mazraoui's game is much more well-rounded in comparison to Wan-Bissaka. When it comes to the defensive side of things, of course, there is. I don't think there's many better fullbacks in comparison to Aaron Wan-Bissaka when it comes to locking down those attacking wingers, and if you have to sit in behind, when you have to play in a system where the fullbacks need to be tucked inwards with the centre backs, he's perhaps the perfect profile that you could go for. But with the way this and direction that this team has been progressing, you need someone like Mazraoui, because from a tactical standpoint, Mazraoui is absolutely brilliant, and he's been doing an incredible job since he's come in. He's been one of our top performers alongside Onana as well. So I think the transfer was important. I think Mazraoui coming in for 10, 15 million is a very good deal for us as well. And yeah, I still expect him to have a very good game today, no doubt about it. Because I think with the way West Ham actually still line up this season, their fullbacks aren't as attacking. When you look at Emerson, the way he is deployed, even when you look at the likes of Aaron Wan-Bissaka as well, they still do that same job. They do the cleanup work, and then they allow just the midfield to actually dictate the play. So I expect a similar performance from them in this one as well.
Are you expecting one like do you remember the game, Chivir, where we played Crystal Palace and Zaha got through, and it was Wan-Bissaka won it who got that tackle?
Yeah.
I can see a similar thing happening today. It just feels like I've done it. Like when a United player who's left, it feels like that narrative's going to play out.
Yeah, I'm sure Marcus Rashford would be happy to play on the right-hand side today because.
Yeah.
Do you remember the season before we bought Wan-Bissaka when we played West Ham we played Palace?
Palace, yeah.
And Wan-Bissaka just locked Rashford out, and I kept going, "Who the hell is this guy?" Yeah, it was just Rashford got no joy, but he's going up against Garnacho. And we know Garnacho is relentless. Like he's just relentless. Like he just never stops, and he's just going to keep going. So yeah, it's just going to be one of them ones. I never really understood why we went for another right back. I always wanted us to go for a left back, but I mean, in hindsight, 15 million euros was it for Mazraoui?
Yeah,
something like that. Like the price, he can play left back, he can play number 10.
Yeah.
No, who knew?
Exactly. He can do all sorts. So yeah, it wasn't really, such a bad, purchase after all. And I think we just needed to elevate past that level of Wan-Bissaka. I still love Wan-Bissaka. I really wish we kept him, but yeah. I think Mazraoui have kind of shown like the level.
West Ham overall, Shreyas, they've been underwhelming, haven't they? I think we was all looking at the money that was spent over the summer when they brought in Fulkrug, Somerville, Rodriguez, all these players, and we're like, that's a really good window. Like second to us, ironically enough, and funnily enough, because we said we had a really good window. But they brought in this Lopetegui instead of David Moyes, which some people was questioning.
You just said sloppy Teggy.
Lopetegui, but Sloppy Teggy is definitely fits the narrative because he has been very sloppy and very underwhelming, and he's got this kind of pragmatic approach, but they still seem extremely open. I mean, they conceded 4 against Spurs, 3 against Chelsea. Like, they are leaking a lot of goals. Is it a surprise how bad they're doing?
Yeah, I mean, I expected them to still, have a slow start to the season, but with the way that the results have actually gone, for them since the start of the season, doesn't really look that good for them. And like you mentioned as well, with the kind of players they got in, like Fulkrug, Guido Rodriguez, they also got in Todibo as well, who I think is a very, very good signing. And, they tried to do that Todibo and Kilman centre-back partnership for a few games as well, but it has just not been, working out for them. The chemistry in the team is just not there. And when it comes to, how positionally well-rounded their players are, it is a bit shocking when it comes when you see the amount of spaces that they leave in behind, especially in that Chelsea game. They just allowed the likes of Cole Palmer and Jackson to just freely roam around their entire defensive and midfield line. So there are a lot of problems in that team, and that's why I think with the kind of setup that we've gone in with today, with the kind of direct attackers that we've gone in with today as well, we should be troubling them a lot while they try to play the ball out.
Yeah, I agree. I think I'm watching them now. Like we're joking saying that Forest and Fulham and these are our rivals and stuff, but I'm actually looking. I think probably towards the end of the season, if we keep performing how we're performing, we should probably be looking at these teams around us like West Ham and Forest. In reality, if performances don't improve, because we are going to be finishing around them. So almost embarrassingly, you look at these games, it's like a 6-pointer for us, isn't it? You're like, it is. Do you know what I mean? Like it feels like that. You're taking 3 points off your rival. I know it sounds really embarrassing to say,
I
but
know.
look,
It's the reality.
that is the reality of the situation.
That's the reality.
It really is. Now we've got some quotes coming in from the manager. From Eric Ten Hag saying we know our difficulties in scoring, and Rasmus Højlund is the most clinical for us. We missed him at the start of the season. We also have to take care of him. That's why he was on the bench on Thursday. But the others can score and must take their responsibilities. When are you convinced with our strikers, Chive? Let's say in a hypothetical world there was a different coach in charge. With them two alone, is that enough?
For now, I think they'll do for now. But you have to remember, like, when we played Fenerbahce, like when Xerxes went off and Højlund came on, there wasn't any difference. Like he didn't do anything when he came on. So it's not like I think the potential with them two is really, really high. They are two really good players. Both offer something different. And I think with the manager, with the new world, hypothetically speaking,
yeah,
I think they can both deliver to a certain level. And nowadays you don't always need. I know it's kind of like a dying breed now. Where you have that 30-goal a season striker sort of thing. Like it's unless you're Haaland or Lewandowski or someone else, or But then now you have to have a playing style that all the other players kind of like contribute. You've got wingers contributing on both
inside
sides, and if you
forwards,
have that, yeah. So to answer your question, I don't think you can rely on them single-handedly to save a season. But if you have them and players around them who can kind of make things happen as well, who can play with them, then yeah, absolutely, we can have them for the next 2 or 3 years, But yeah, I think with them too, it's kind of like because they're kind of like on a similar level. Again, they're not really, I would have loved that. Like, I really, really like the looks of that Porto guy, the Omarodian guy. Like, he is going to be a beast, honestly, in the next couple of years. But yeah, I think with them too, you can't rely on them. You have to have the players around them performing as well.
Because I remember discussing it with yourself, Shreyas, like over the summer, and we was like, are we going to go get an experienced striker, or are we going to go and get a younger one? Obviously, we went with Joshua Zirkzee, who was a different kind of profile, and it made sense at the time. But I look at like Lewandowski's performance in the El Clasico last night, and I'm like, we need a seasoned top goal scorer in that role.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to just be like a Lewandowski kind of profile, but I'm talking like the strikers at the moment. The majority of strikers, bar Haaland, your Kanes and Lewandowskis and these guys, they're like, seasoned, really experienced, guaranteed gold. And I think United need that at the minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the reason why, during the January transfer window last season, when the name Benzema was being popped around, a lot of us actually wanted us to actually, go and get him because he is that sort of a senior figure and mentor figure who players like Højlund and Zirkzee can actually learn off from. And the kind of veteran that he is, the kind of teams that he's played for in his career and the amount of goals he's scored, that amount of expertise when it walks into the team, it just changes the entire attacking lineup. It changes the morale. It changes the entire dynamic of a team, I would say as well.
Yeah.
So I think with the kind of bet that we've made on Xerxes and Højlund right now, I think at the moment you cannot get in another striker in this team at this moment unless you actually let go of someone in this attack because you still got Rashford, you've got Garnacho, you've got Xerxes and Højlund now on contracts as well, and you've also got the likes of Ahmad at the club. You've got a couple of guys actually coming up from the academy as well. That we signed a youngster in Obi Martin as well in this window, who's going to be looking for minutes in the upcoming seasons as well. So right now, with the kind of talent that we've got, even if you want to get a senior figure in the attack, you need to let go of one player or two players to get fresh faces in, to get some new, new ideas into this attacking lineup as well. But I think once this season actually ends, the picture would be quite clearer as to which players need to leave, which players still need to be around the club because they can, get to that level where they can get 20 to 25 goals consistently season after season after season. So I think this season might be a bit tough to watch, but when it comes to getting clarity as to which players to build around and where to progress for in the future, I think this season will be the one where you can see whether Rashford can actually make it or not. Whether players like I would even put Garnacho and Ahmad in that in that same figure as well. That are these the two guys you want to be at the wings for the next 5 to 6 years? Can they actually progress to that level where they can get 20 to 25 goal contributions every season? I think all of those questions will be answered by the time the season ends.
I thought
I would kill for Cavani right now, honestly.
just had the chant back. I'll do that just
Yeah.
for the chant. I thought, I can't remember, it was someone in the media made the assessment the other day about Rasmus Højlund, Berbatov, I think it might have been. And he said that he needs to demand more. He needs to be more ruthless. And I was just thinking when we were speaking about Benzema then, I was thinking he won't work at United's team. Do you know why? Because he would have killed Garnacho and Rashford by now if he came into United's team.
Yeah.
He would have fucking murdered him. Because they do not supply the striker enough. I look at Rasmus at times, and yes, he is demanding it, screaming at him. But I fully agree with what Berbatov was saying. He was like, he needs to be like almost kill mode with him. Like, play that fucking ball in front. When I'm in that 6-yard box, put it in there. Because every time...
but they do. Have you noticed? Like him and Garnacho always have like back and forths. But obviously, Garnacho is looking at him like, well, you're not like,
Yeah, you're not senior.
You're not senior. Yeah. They watch the game. You see, they always have this back and forth. Always.
But that's because he's not supplying him, innit? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I mean?
That's true.
I mean, I look at Marcus Rashford's. I look at Marcus Rashford's performance, for example, against Brentford. I'm like, that's what I want. You know, because you can still get on the assists, you can still get the numbers, but you're being creative in the same. And they've got it in him. I know they've got it in him because I've seen it before in flashes. But Garnacho, it's almost like a double-edged sword with him because he's got this mentality that's ruthless and he'll keep going. But then that also means that he'll keep shooting every time and keep going until he gets. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's almost like a double negative. I don't know. It's a bizarre scenario, but
he reminds me of when Ronaldo first came. I'm not saying he's as good as Ronaldo. These were some of the frustrations that some of the teammates had with Ronaldo at the time, because when we signed Ronaldo, he wasn't CR7. Yeah. He was not. He was rough around the edges, and he would do this, and then it wasn't until the third season that he really started taking on this role. And I remember, I think it was against Fulham, and I remember West Brom. Those two games I remember clearly, when he literally saved us, and he did exactly what Garnacho does: takes it, puts it on his right foot, and then shoots in. And there's no amount of shouting you're going to give Garnacho. He's just going to keep doing what he does.
Yeah.
He's just about Rashford's performance against Brentford. Absolute, I love that. Like, I really want to see more of that. Not that it was spectacular, but it was a responsible performance. It was like, this is what you expect from like a senior player, like a talisman sort of thing.
Exactly.
Where he was playing for the team. And I remember the last time I ever saw that was when we won the Europa League with Jose. The semi-final was against Celta Vigo. And that was one of the best performances. That was a team performance Rashford put in there. Like, he gave everything. I've never seen anything like that. So yeah, hopefully we'll see more of that today. Hopefully.
Fingers crossed. It's getting to that ultimate time where we give score predictions. But I'm going to read out some comments before we do, and then we'll finish on that. Punch Paint saying Bowen's the worry for sure. Yellow card for Paqueta will be automatic. If we score first, their fans will turn on him and the manager. That's why I think an early goal is really important, because you shut the crowd up and they will get frustrated, because I've seen it happen before at the London Stadium. So hopefully we can get that, but we're not really ones for scoring early goals. UTFR, I knew a few of West Ham fans and they said Wan-Bissaka's been shit, apparently. Interesting. I think the whole team's been shit though, so I wouldn't just blame this. Apparently Dallow's warming up as a right back and Majari warming up as a left back. That's interesting, isn't it? I haven't seen Majari there yet, I don't think. By the way, how good was United's under-18s? Obi Martins is a gem. Yeah, hat-trick in, what was it, 15 minutes or something ridiculous? Yeah. Crazy. Victor Gyökeres is the answer, but he's going to Arsenal. Yeah, I think he's the next one on the talent line. I like Gyökeres. Solid player. Strong,
he's so good.
Quick, great finisher. United can only dream at this point. Right, lads. Last 5 minutes. Score predictions. Things you see happening in this game. Shreyas, kick us off.
I'll still stick with 1-1. I expect us to get the first goal, but I think that off a set piece or something that we'll concede. I think it will be a 1-1 draw, and yes, one controversial VAR call in this game.
Okay. A 1-1 draw and a controversial VAR is not what I want on my Sunday, but that's the prediction. Civir?
I'm going to go confident here. I'm going to go 2-0. Definitely Bruno yellow. Yeah, I think I'm going to go 2-0. United.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Positive result, clean sheet as well. I don't know. I can see West Ham scoring. Really, really can.
Yeah.
Of something stupid. If Fenerbahce can score against us so easily with that just one cross into the box, I think West Ham will look at that and I'll identify it and they'll be like, yeah, that's how we can get at him. Back post, crosses into the box.
Just a disclaimer here. I do feel stupid going 2-0.
Yeah,
Let me just put it out there.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. But you've gone positive. I'll take it. I'll go positive as well. I'll say I think we do win, but I think it'll be 2-1. So I've gone for a mixture of you both there. You've gone 1-1. You've gone 2-0. I'll go 2-1 in the middle. One of us is bound to be right unless we lose. In which case, yeah, the review isn't going to be great, is it? But yeah, make sure you guys come and join us for the review after it. Straight after the game. Enjoy it if you can. Hopefully, United put in a good performance. But my God, if I had £1 for every time I said that, I wouldn't have to work. So, right, good luck, lads. I wish you well watching the game. Try not to throw anything at windows or out or throw your phone. And yeah, I'll sure speak to you in the chat, and we'll see you guys.